I'm going to tell you two quite important things about the way that Tony Iommi plays. The first thing is he tends to use, as a lot of rock guitar players use, is root and fifth. It sounds like this. So it's just the root and the fifth of the chord. So it's neither major nor minor, because when you're playing a major chord or a minor chord, you have the fifth in both of those chords. And it's the major third or the minor third that denotes whether it's a major chord or a minor chord. So that's one very important thing. And then the other thing is that virtually all the Black Sabbath improvisations, when they're soloing, are used on what's called a pentatonic scale. So if you're in the key of C major, he'll actually be playing a C pentatonic scale, which is also called the A blues scale. So it sounds a bit like this. Now, those are the notes that are actually from the C pentatonic scale. And if you mess around with them and bend the notes a la blues, it becomes rock and roll. And that's basically what's going on. The only other scale they'll occasionally use is they'll use variants on minor scales, usually for the more darker sounding songs like Paranoid or something like that. And what they'll do then is, if they'll take a minor scale, they'll sharpen the fifth or flatten the fifth depending on what the sound they want to have. So they'll have things a little bit more like this. They'll have... And that's essentially the two scales that are used in this style of music, and the variants upon it, of course. And if you're a clever player and you know where you want to go and what you want to achieve, and Tony does within the Black Sabbath sound, that's really all you need to have. And improvising around it cleverly, you can create, you know, the effect that is so desired. And he's the master within it. The basic two principal riffs on the tune Black Sabbath from the first album. So what he's doing there is he's playing root and fifth on G, so a G5, and then he's playing an octave above, and then he's playing a flat 5 from the scale, and he also does which is known as a trill. The second riff of Black Sabbath, the song, I think is one of the templates really for heavy metal and even thrash metal and fast metal and all the stuff that came after it. And it goes like this, and it's on a G minor scale. And that's basically that. It gives a lot of tension to the music. Now you'll hear lots of bands from Black Sabbath onwards using this musical phrase at different speeds, you know. But they were the first ones to create this phrase. Famous guitar riff. Every guitar player should be able to play this riff and know this riff. And that's essentially it. And they just keep going round and round on that riff. And if you take that riff apart, as I said, you see root fifth, root fifth, root fifth all over the riff, as you will do with most of the Black Sabbath riffs. The major difference on the beginning is he's playing an E sort of suspended seventh. You hear the other note hanging through? The rest of it is roots and fifths. From E to D to G, back to D, back to E. And then he goes from E down to C root and fifth. So C root and fifth, D root and fifth, back up to E root and fifth. By Black Sabbath, there's a couple of things I really like about it. One is the Dalek sound on the vocals at the beginning, which I think is fantastic. But once again, Tony Iommi does something really quite unusual. He bends a string out of tune to a certain extent and then drops it down back to the key that he's going to be playing in. So he starts bending an F note up a semitone to F sharp and then drops it, opens it down to an E. So once again, apart from the intro, using that F and bending it, it's all root and fifths again. But what he's doing this time, he's playing a B, root and fifth, so B5, a D5, an E5, a G5, but he slides using a root and fifth again in between an F sharp to a G, to a D, back up to an E. Sometimes when he's playing the riff, the G5 to the F sharp riff, sometimes he plays it with his plectrum and sometimes he just slides it with the left hand. So sometimes he'll go, and sometimes he'll go. So for budding players, you've got two choices there.